The need for Nigeria to maximize the potential of its oil and gas investments has led to the creation of many initiatives. One of them, the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority. Managing Director of the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority, Umana, says the authority will work to create more free zones across the country to deepen the influence of existing zones and to ultimately boost investments.
In 1996, the federal government of Nigeria decided to create a different authority, the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority, with a special focus and emphasis on oil and gas activities. So by 2000, the law was put in place in 1996, but by 2000, when the oil and gas free zone was established. We are in various locations, and we were even working to establish other free zones in the country where the promoters meet the conditions set by the authority. Because essentially, since our mandate is to attract foreign direct investments, we can only do that using the vehicles of the free zones. So our strategy is to deepen the existing zones by attracting additional companies or establish new zones in other locations. So that way too, we were able to deepen the quantum of investments.
OGFZA licensee and free zone developer, Notori Chemicals Limited, describes the authority as instrumental in working with organizations to create the best free zones within Nigeria.
The OGFZA have been very, very instrumental in getting quite a few companies to participate in their vision, which is to have, in my opinion, the best free zones in the country. And I want to just state very quickly that under the leadership of Mr. Umana, we've had a fantastic partnership whereby the process, the application of getting a free zone was extremely transparent, very professional, and we were able to meet that and achieve our objectives, I'm sure, as well as theirs. So Notori Chemical Industries is an agro-allied and infrastructure business. The first part of that business is a fertilizer business that produces 500,000 metric tons of urea. And we have another aspect of the business, the infrastructure business, which is one I run, which essentially looks at the industrial city. When we took over the assets of NAFCON in 2005, we inherited 560 hectares of land, 2 kilometers of waterfront, a power plant, a fertilizer plant, an industrial city, residential and commercial offices. And what we've managed to do since 2010, when we started production of the fertilizer, is to shift our attention a little bit on the infrastructural side of this whole infrastructure. We are the most attractive free zone in the country in the sense that we have power and gas within our facility. We've always had gas because of the fertilizer plant. And also we have power. We have 50 megawatts of power. We've generated our own power since May 2008. We don't use the national grid. Indeed, our power company is at this moment trying to sell the excess power to the national grid or the local grid, as the case may be.
Tenaris is a licensee, so we operate as a free zone entity in the Oil and Gas Free Zone Authority. So throughout the duration of our tenure, we have been from a Nigerian company and then we moved straight into the Oil and Gas Free Zone. So from the commencement of the Free Zone Authority, we have been partners with them in the business. Tenaris is a company that's into pipe manufacturing. We're an international company. We have most of our facilities are around the world. So we have in Argentina, we have in Mexico, we have in the US. We have also in Italy, but in Nigeria we have a pipe threading facility here in Onne. So in Onne we have the largest facility in Nigeria, actually, largest threading facility in Nigeria, which we commenced 2010. And over the years we have grown, and we have actually been doing business with most of the IOCs here in Nigeria. So that's basically what we do. We service virtually all the IOCs, and then we also have major business relationships also with the local indigenous companies in the free zone. I work in supply chain, so I understand the implication of bringing in materials into the country, raw materials into the country, and then turning them into finished products. So on a normal day, for you to bring in materials and then produce a finished good, you have to custom clear, you have to import them into the Nigerian customs territory. But for the Free Zone Authority, you don't need to do that. There are certain incentives that you gain. So I can bring in raw materials, I don't have to custom clear them, I have to work in the free zone, produce my goods, and then I can decide if I want to export them to other countries or I want to take them into Nigeria for sales. So this gives the flexibility on how to improve, because it's like saying your capital investments, you don't have to use all of your capital investments at every point in time. So in terms of paying duties, you don't have to implement paying of duties. You can actually use your products in the free zone without paying duties. We also have things like the rebate certificates. So we have a 75% rebate that allows you enjoy some benefits of like 75% off the duty that is obtainable while taking materials into Nigeria. So that is a very good incentive for any company to invest in.
They are a regulatory authority. We applied to the oil and gas free trade zone to get a free zone license. And like I said, very transparent, very professional, very rigorous process to make sure. I think you have over 40 or so free zones in Nigeria. And I think you'll find over the years the manner in which some of those applications have been sought and gotten were not exactly the most professional. But in this case, it's fairly clear to us that this is a very professional and dedicated team that have made sure that our investors are quite happy to invest in the free zone. Have in the Onne region, some of the onshore or swampy areas, oil companies will use Onne as their base. You have Onne Free Trade Zone and you have the Notori Free Trade Zone. And what we have is a platform that allows all these oil companies to use it as their base, either for storage, for their logistics, and what have you when they're going on or offshore. And those are the opportunities that exist for them. In addition to that, you have the what I would call their value chain businesses. So you have the oil servicing companies that follow those oil companies that also need to have a base, whether it be for storage of equipment, for pipes and what have you, or residential status or offices within those zones. And then you're going to have the servicing companies, whether it's your DHLs, your banks, and financial services, which they also need as well. So there are a plethora of opportunities that come up for different types of companies, all in the aid. As you know, the free zone is meant to promote export. And these are all the companies that follow those businesses to make sure that they can succeed.
From time to time, there are general meetings where everybody comes together to deliberate on what actions are being taken, what challenges we all face, because it's not like you're on an island. There are other companies that also do similar services or have different activities that also have the same challenges as you do. So this is some of the things we come together to discuss, like, okay, how are the customs or how are the authorities, how is MPA, how is power supply. Those are the kind of things we come together to do. In addition, we have what we call the oil and gas free zone joint community relations, where the oil and gas free zone champions projects to the host communities, and then all the other licensees come together to chip in to say, okay, this is a project we would like to execute within this period for the host communities. So we have joint sessions in such manners.
Beyond testimonials and incentives, Notori Chemicals and a free zone enterprise, Tenaris, share their work experience with the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority, as well as relationships with co-licensees. They also point out the plethora of opportunities for investments across the value chain businesses within the oil and gas free zones, which are all geared towards generating more export.
The main aim of the oil and gas free zone is mainly foreign direct investments. So when we have companies like Tenaris coming into the free zone, coming into Nigeria, I'm a Nigerian, it's an international company, so you see where we have employees, we have job creation for Nigerians, we have foreign direct investments from these other countries into Nigeria. So it's the creation of job opportunities for the country, for the people in the country. It's also the creation of forex for Nigeria as well. So when you have the Free Zone Authority, it gives transfer of knowledge. Because if I wasn't in a company like Tenaris, for example, I couldn't have learned all I have at this point. So when we talk about, it's not just the job creation, but it's the impact on the individuals that work in these companies. So my previous superiors have all been expatriates from other countries and have been trained to take over this position. So these are the kind of things that we look at as Nigerians to say, okay, the oil and gas is a platform where companies that don't necessarily have to be Nigerian companies, they come in there, they make investments, and they can decide where and how they want to sell their products. So that was the basis of Tenaris coming into the oil and gas free zone as an international company. So I think it's a very good, I use myself every day as an example. I have benefited from the oil and gas free zone being where it is, because now at least I can understand what supply chain is. I can understand the complexity of it. I can understand the complexity of doing international trade with other companies. So those are the kind of things that we want to develop in Nigeria.
If every authority is looking at it the way the oil and gas free trade zone is looking at it, at least in the recent times, then I think it'll be quite successful. But certainly, we have to measure that against the exports we can generate and the foreign exchange income we can bring into the country, and that's really going to be the measure of it.